to Digium, which basically says you're giving up your rights to the code. Now, a lot of developers that are purists will say, well, that's bullshit, in your terms, or the words from the gentleman in the back. But it works pretty well, and it really protects them from the liability. So, again, Digium does get disclaimers from all contributors, and generally everybody's happy. If you don't like it, don't contribute. Or, fork the project. Form something else. You can always do that if you'd like. Any questions on that? In an open source world, that often raises a lot of or outrage.
Have there been any direct reports?
Yes.
Have those reports actually worked?
Yes. Have they done anything? No. The last fork that I was on the mailing list for has about 4 messages in 6 months. Generally, I would say that Asterisk is a bit immature to fork right now. However, don't let that be interpreted as Asterisk is an immature product. It's been around for 6 years. It's got a lot of code behind it. And as convoluted as some of it may be, it works really, really damn well. So it's a little immature as a project because the momentum and the real coders have just, in the past 2 years, really started contributing significant amounts to the core of the system. So this gets back to your question about how do I connect my Asterisk system to the rest of the world? Well, most of us are going to want to connect to the PSTN, and most of us have a phone line, I'd hope. Well, some of you probably just use cell phones. Yep. Well, then this card is not for you. If you have a phone line from SBC or one of the other evil empires, you can purchase a Digium X100P card, which is basically a fixed single port adapter, and essentially it is a WIN modem of some type that Digium has written drivers to work with. So essentially you can take inbound calls. In my house, all my inbound calls come in over an SBC phone line, are delivered into this card, and then are delivered anywhere I want them to. And essentially when people call, they can, I have control then over caller ID and what I do with those calls. So this is about, I don't know, $90 for the card. They have a 4-port module, which is modular, these little red and green things you can plug in. Red is FXS, meaning that you can put a phone on it, and green is FXO, meaning you can put a line into it. And you can put any combination of these in, so you could build a 4-line PBX for about $500 with your hardware, put some $65 SIP phones on it, or just run soft phones on something like your Pocket PC if you want, with Wi-Fi, and be done with it. And then they have, for the big boys, they have T100 card and the TE405P. These are the types of cards we run in our data center, which basically take ISDN PRI, 23 or 24 channels, channelize T1 for 24 channels, and up to 96 concurrent calls in one card. So if you really want to start doing some serious stuff with Asterisk, PRI is probably the way to go. This is what we'll put in our client site and turn into, for example, we'll take these and put them in, plug them into a traditional telephony system that has channelized T1 or PRI, and basically deliver PRI to them over an internet connection with quality of service. So, of course, if you want to take it with you, the Digium IXY is a 1-port Ethernet FXS handset. I mean, this thing is probably this big in reality. It's small. It was designed to basically be built from about $10 worth of Radio Shack parts. And you plug one into a LAN, the other into your phone, and you basically calls back home, registers to your Asterisk server. It doesn't matter if you're through NAT, triple NAT, quadruple NAT, what have you. One IX2 port, 4569 UDP, and they have a modified version of the I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt song. And they call these EXIs. I don't know how you get EXI out of IXY. I look at that and go IXI, but hey, they invented it, so they can call it whatever the hell they want. Sapura SPA 2000, 3000 are analog telephony adapters, which basically take Ethernet on one side, speak SIP to your Asterisk server, and on the other side will give you 2 phone ports. And the 3000 model will give you an analog line that you can plug into your phone line, so you get one inbound line from your telephone provider, your telco, and 2 ports out to your phones. Now, in my particular case, I have an inbound line coming into my Asterisk server through the FXO card, And all of my analog phones are actually still on the same first pair of wire. My second phone line, or my phone line comes into my second pair, comes into the asterisk box, is routed back to the Sapura, and then goes out to the first pair and powers all the phones. So again, my wife has no idea. She just knows when something doesn't work. But then I can just blame Bell. Verbiage is supposedly coming out with an IEX2 ATA. So far it's vapor, and it's top secret. And it's based on the Firefly IAX stack. Now Firefly is kind of cool because I should mention a little bit about soft phones here. Firefly is a free soft phone that speaks IEX2 and SIP that you can download from Verbiage's website if you want to start playing with Asterisk. And if you want to start playing with Asterisk, talk to me and I can get you DIDs in Cleveland. We have lots of them. And of course, we'll monitor everything you say on them, so don't use them for anything illegal. That's another thing. You can record everything with Asterisk. So whoever was concerned about like legal CALIA stuff, hey, you want to record a call? One button, boom. You want to reassemble. We got this cool thing called ChanSpy now, which basically lets us drop in and reassemble SIP packets on the fly. So we can basically just sniff a network and boom, listen to the conversation. Cool stuff. Verbiage IXA ATA. What's cool about it is it runs Linux, their ATA. Their software, however, obviously runs on top of Windows, or obviously or not so obviously. SNOM, these guys basically took Linux and embedded it into a phone. And the phone works okay. It's not great, but it works pretty cool. You can actually get in there and modify it if you were so desired to do that. Try one at the demo table. I don't have a demo table here. This is from an older presentation, so I guess you're SOL on that. But most of these phones, these SIP phones, have multiple line appearances, 3, 4, 6, 7 lines at once that lets you basically have multiple calls, which is kind of cool. You can conference people, transfer people, what have you. IP Dialog SIP Tone is another SIP phone that runs Linux. I haven't played with one. Supposedly a decent phone, inexpensive. The Grandstream Budget Tone, which is what we refer to as the Barbie tone because it feels like a Barbie phone. If you've ever seen one of those, if you ever had a younger sister. It's the cheapest of all SIP phones. It is amazingly stable. Although it feels like the worst piece of crap you could ever imagine, it works really well. It's probably one of the most stable phones that we've found. And they're 65 bucks. So if you want a cheap phone to start playing, it's great. I mean, it's not great quality. It's got big buttons and it's just poorly engineered, but it works really well.
So the network's down, the phone smashes well, and they're cheaper to play.
That's right. That's right. I used to make comments that the only way to really see a Grandstream like sparkle, and see it really do its thing was to put it in the oven. So once you get your software, whether you're going to use a SIP phone, you can use a couple of different stacks on top of Linux. I've never tried them because, well, I just haven't had the time. There's too much out there to play with. There are several Linux stacks. I won't go into details. Does anybody have any comments on Linux stacks that speak SIP or IX2? I know Myth TV's got a SIP phone plugin, so you can basically talk on your television. Put a mic on top of it, I guess. Dial by remote control. Okay, there you go. But once you get all that stuff up, if you want to actually, you can, without putting in any hardware to plug into the regular telephone network, you can pick up and get yourself an account with an Internet Telephony Service Provider. Well, a new buzzword, an ITSP. It's all people are going to be talking about at ISPCon. I can't wait. Basically, we give you dial tone over the internet. So essentially, we'll let you connect with your SIP devices or your IX2 devices, and we'll give you a phone number that we will terminate into our equipment, deliver over your broadband connection to your Asterisk box or your phone, aka Vonage. This is called VoPI, Voice over the Public Internet. And I wouldn't trust it for your bread and butter, but it works pretty damn well. We do a lot of stuff with that now, and it's surprising. But it's only a matter of time until the government steps in and says, well, you can't tinker with Vonage's packets, which of course they did recently. So I kind of asked Chairman Michael Pollitt at Vaughan in San Jose, I said, so does that mean that I can't block spam from entering my network? Oh, no, 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 that's not what we meant. That's what your decision says. It says that we have the ability to block whatever packet. We can't block any packets from an ITSP. So if the ITSP is spamming, we can't block them.
I mean, kind of contrary to your purposes too. I mean, you as an ISP can't block monitored packets, but that also means the backbone core providers can't deprioritize.
No, 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 they can't block them. Doesn't mean they can't deprioritize them. Quality of service and outright packet block, I mean, they can deliver them, albeit 30 minutes later. They just have really big buffers, and they play with the order of the packets too. But yeah, so anyways, you can purchase an account from an ITSP. There's a lot of Lemonade ITSPs. Get them now, get them while they're cheap, because they won't be around too long. This is one of those industries that'll pop up and go away. It's quicker than you can blink an eye. We have such a service, and we kind of laugh about it, but we do have such a service called Univoice, and we use it primarily for small business. It's really not intended for residential usage, but we do, for the hell of it, just give out DIDs to people that are doing asterisk development. So if you have something to contribute and you have a disclaimer on file with Digium, and you want to help advance the project, give me a call, and I will be happy to give you some stuff to play with. In our particular case, we try to avoid delivering any kind of internet telephony service over any network that we can't control, which means we don't really deliver it over the public internet. We'll do it from our core router up into a client over a private T1 with quality of service on both ends. So we can use SIP or IX2. Those are what we've spec'd to work on our equipment. Another gentleman that I feel compelled to mention because he's really big and he'll beat me up if I don't. His name is Jeremy McNamara, and he's actually the author of the H323 channel driver. So if there's anybody that actually wants H323 to work, he has it working. He actually runs a CLEC out of Michigan and has 1.6 cent per minute 800 numbers. I've got a couple pointed at my house just for the hell of it. So you can basically PayPal him like 30 bucks and he'll give you an 800 number. I did that like a year and a half ago, and I still have like 2 hours left on my account. I mean, we did all of the Linux Fest development. We basically had Meet Me conferences and people coming in from Columbus and Michigan and all sorts of stuff. And so I just said, use this number. Here's a Meet Me room. You can go and have a conference. And that's how they did all their organization. And I looked, and I don't know, it's incredible. I mean, you'd imagine that you probably, the average person at Lixon goes, $29.95 a month for unlimited calls. That's great. Yeah, well, look at your phone bill. You're probably only doing about $3 a calls. The rest of it's taxes and BS that the telco is charging you. So use your broadband. Avoid that. You know, hasten the demise of SBC any way that you possibly can. Let's relegate them to just be wire carriers and manage the copper, and let the people that really know what they're doing manage the network. I'm not bitter. Other ITSPs that you can choose from: BroadVoice, which supports IX2 and SIP, VoicePulse. There's too many to count. Again, like I said, the Lemonade stand ITSP is a term that comes up a lot. There's people coming up and just saying, oh, we've got all this massive bandwidth and we set up all this stuff to these gateways and we're an ITSP. And then 3 weeks later, their packets stop working. So, questions. And anybody that asks questions, I have lots of Digium swag to give away. These cool calculators and these Digium throwing stars, or CDs, I think they are. These are brand new. These are from Vaughan this year. And they've got lots of stuff on them. Here, come on up and grab a couple if you want. So question.
Who's your international provider, if you don't mind me asking?
We go through Easton as a carrier. I don't know who the hell they send our international stuff to. They broker it to like several.
To speak to H323 for Asterisk, we actually use AT&T for our international termination.
Okay.
And AT&T is like H323, that's it, end of discussion.
That's because they invested billions of dollars in H323 equipment when they thought it would be the standard.
Exactly, so we got to send our calls in H323 to somewhere in China before we get routed out. But it's the best price, you won't find a better price than that.
Yeah, well, hey. Again, we don't deliver over the public internet. We have PRI interconnects. With small business and business termination, I don't screw around. All right, you in the back. Yeah. Wow. See, I should have gotten on the basketball team. Questions?
Yeah, I'm interested in some of the like ACD features and things like that. I've been looking around, but I really haven't seen a lot of talk about that, unless I'm just looking in the wrong places.
It's almost